Okay, so welcome everyone. I've been feeling so excited about sharing this topic. It feels like a big weaving of a tapestry of just what's been getting downloaded for myself, and I've had all sorts of conversations with so many of you, and books and videos and all those different ways that I seem to be able to just pull the energetic trends together. And so today I want to share like how can we really truly show up for ourselves and our tribes and our humanity. And so I'm really issuing this kind of call to our light workers and healers and leaders and empaths around the world. And I wanted to start out by acknowledging what so many of us have been feeling. So I'm curious, if I name a way that you've been feeling, I'd love for you to raise your hand or put a little note in the chat box. And so I know for myself, I've been waking up really tired every day, even though I'm getting tons of sleep. I feel like my light body is off working. Anyone else experiencing that? I see some nods and raised hands. There's been times when I feel really electrified, like I'm sharing myself or a message in a way that I just feel that surge of energy. Anyone else feeling that? Yeah. There's been times I feel really disoriented, excited about what's going on. I've heard a lot of people say they're not freaked out about what's happening. And then other people saying they are. There are times when they're freaked out. Some people are getting more clarity and more freedom and calm. And then other times there's that jitteriness. I've heard a lot about clearing, lots of fire ceremonies going on. How many people have done a fire ceremony in the last week or two? Yeah. So I know so many of us are just feeling our collective energy as well as our own energy. And a lot of times when that collective energy kind of bumps up against our own personal energy, that's raising all these different kinds of feelings. And so today I wanted to be really clear about my intent, and that is to really articulate and normalize what those of us who are light workers and healers and coaches and empaths have been experiencing, so we can more easily surf all these kind of energetic shifts. And so I'd love to check in, like, what is the word that you would use for yourself? Because I know sometimes when I name these different kinds of words like light worker or healer or highly sensitive person or an empath, um, if it's not exactly the term you use, people start saying, oh, well, does this apply to me? And I want to know if you made your way onto this call, it does. So what are those words that you use? So feel free to go ahead and put a message in the chat box. And I just want to take 1 second while everyone's doing that, because someone's saying they can't get into the meeting. So I'm going to just send them the link to make sure. Okay, let's see what we got. We got coach, empath, healer, light worker, healer, leader, life coach. I love you claiming that, Rose. Yeah, so there's all sorts of different ways. So if I'm speaking today, I want to know that it does include you. And my intent is really to inspire those of us who are feeling this kind of call, who are leaders, healers in some way, to really show up for yourself and your tribe in humanity in a really fuller way. Because I have been hearing so clearly that you were born for this time. In fact, you have probably been doing this kind of work for multiple lifetimes and preparing for it over multiple lifetimes. And if there's one thing you can walk away with, I want you to just have that inner knowing, like, we need you right now, and we need you sharing your real deep gifts and your real true talents, and not trying to cram yourself into some little peg or hole that doesn't quite fit. And so all of us, I think, are having this invitation for our presence and our essence and our energy to show up, and then we're figuring out how to surf these waves and how to take that energy that's coming through us and put it in some kind of form that we could really be of service. And so I also want to give you some tools that are just going to help you position yourself to really be of bigger service to humanity and to Mother Earth. And so I want to just start out with a couple of agreements. First of all, this is a no judgment zone. So if what I'm sharing does not apply to you, my husband always says, like, if it don't apply, let it fly. So I'm sharing my perceptions and what I've heard from a lot of others, but if you're saying that's not me or that doesn't feel right for me, then please follow your own inner knowing and truth. So everyone give me a little thumbs up if that's something you're agreeing to. Thank you. And I also want you to know, I've had some people say, well, how can I show up for my tribe when I'm barely showing up for myself, or I can only show up for myself right now? And if that's where you're at, then that is perfect. And if you are in a space where you can share with for others, then that's perfect. So again, wherever you are at, whatever you are called to do, to me, the most important thing is to listen to your own truth. And I always like to say when we're on these kind of calls that we're creating this safe circle. So whatever we talk about here stays here. And I also do want you to know, full disclosure, I am recording this and I'm going to be sending out a recording and sharing it publicly. So if you're also listening to the recording, this also applies to you, that we're creating a safe space for everyone to share. So is everyone good with that agreement as well? Awesome. And then I really do care about your insights and your ahas. So please share and contribute. If I'm sharing something and you have something else to add or say, share in the chat box, and then I'll also open it up at the end where we can unmute people if you want to share something that's really resonating with you. And so I wanted to start out by acknowledging there's quite a few of you on the line that I've had conversations with, or we've had email exchanges, or I've read something you've written that has really inspired me or caused me to weave it into what I'm saying today. And at the same time, I haven't taken like a direct quote from anyone that I can easily point to. So I just want to have all of us just take a moment to send our thanks and our gratitude to these different inspirations I've had. And I'm going to start with Rita Rivera Fox and Emily Johnson and Peleg Top and Rosemary Quaid Nichols and Anna Claire Walsh and Janine Barnett and Gloria Jean and Julie Lewin and all of those who are in my master heart. So I just want to acknowledge and thank all of them for contributing to the magic we're creating today. And I'd like us to start out just by energetically circling up. So I want you to look around the Zoom call, and you might know someone on the call. And I notice I've been on some calls this week where I've seen someone that I know, and I get really excited about that. Or there's a bunch of people on the line that know each other and they get really excited. And then there's some other people that maybe I don't know as well. And I'm like, I wonder what that's like to not feel that connection if you don't exactly know someone. So I want you to take a moment, just energetically. If there's someone you know here and you're excited about seeing them, you can just beam them and say hello energetically. I'm so happy to see you. And then I also want you to find someone that you don't know that you can see their name or see their eyes or see their face. Hey, Carla. And just also send them that, hey, I'm one of you, I'm here, I'm present, really nice to meet you. And once you've had a chance to do that, I'd love for you to just close your eyes for a moment. And just take a breath down into your belly, to your womb. And I'd like you to picture that we can magically rearrange our Zoom call from being more like Hollywood squares into a circle so that we're standing, able to see everyone who's felt called to come today. And you just imagine that whether you know the person who's ended up slotting in next to you or not, that we just reach out and hold each other's hands. And you start from that space of really tuning into yourself and your own energy, that knowing of, here I am. This is what is mine. This is me. I can recognize my own energetic signature. And then when you're ready, you can also open up to perceiving the group energy, whether it's an individual next to you or across from you, or just the collective energy we're creating by gathering today. And let's just create a big energetic stew. So whatever energy you've been nurturing inside of yourself, and that might be an energy you've been nourishing for a long time, or maybe it's a new energy, whether it's that sense of harmony or ease or flow or peace, whatever energetic sensation resonates with you, that you could allow that to rise up from your womb or your heart, your eyes, any other particle of your body, and contribute it into the center of the circle, so that we're actually seeding and anchoring this energy and this way of being both within ourselves and when we gather with each other. And from where our energy touches the ground, touches Mother Earth, all the way up into the heavens and the sky, that we can create a column or a vortex of positive energy to drop into and to seed and share. And then I'd like you to just end this circling up by coming back into your own breath, really focusing on being embodied, the sensations in your body. Maybe there's an energetic that you sensed in the circle that you also want to pull within you, or maybe there's one that doesn't feel like you, and you want to make sure you have a boundary in place. And then when you're ready to open up your eyes again and rejoin our circle space, give everyone a moment to come back into form. Okay, so I want to start our conversation around just what is that invitation? What is that opportunity for those of us who are these light worker, healer, coach oriented people? And how can we harness these invitations and opportunities that are happening? And so the invitation that I'm feeling so called to, and I'm witnessing so many of you stepping into and doing it at an even greater level, is to really emerge as that leader you're meant to be. And each of us are showing up as leaders in very different ways. And so how many people have been feeling like some kind of nudge, maybe it feels like a push to just show up, like to get over yourself, like if you don't like being on video or whatever your opinion is about what's going on in these times, how many of you have felt like, yes, I'm feeling this invitation, and might feel like more like a nudge or a push? Yeah, a lot of us are feeling that. So I know some of us are getting started and some of us already have significant businesses. I feel like everyone is just being called to rise up in a bigger and greater way. And so on a personal level, I see so many of us feeling this call and this pull to clear and purify and attune and recalibrate. So there's all this energetic shifts going on inside of us in our personal sphere. And then professionally, a lot of us are being called to relook at what is it that we're offering, or how is it that I'm phrasing the problem I solve for people, or what are my real gifts and my real messages, or just how can I serve? Okay, Rose has
I'm sorry.
hold on, I just unmuted you, but I'm not hearing you, so you're muted.
Okay.
I
I'm
still
being
can't hear
text.
you.
Can you hear me now?
Let's see. You seem like you're unmuted.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Can anyone else hear Rose? Weird. I'm not hearing her at all. Huh. Let me try muting you and unmuting you one more time.
Now can you hear
Okay,
me?
try talking again.
Can you hear me now?
No,
No?
I still can't. That's so strange.
That
All
is
right,
very weird.
let me try unmuting everybody. Okay. No.
Can you hear me?
I think, Rose, if you want to let me know what's going on, you're going to have to type.
Okay, try again. Can you hear me now?
I did see some people were having a problem getting on the call, and I'm not 100% clear on how to solve that. So they might need,
That's
I
it.
don't have a waiting room on.
I am getting.
So I'm not sure why some people are showing up in a waiting room and some people are not. Mm-hmm. Zoom says the host is in another meeting. Yeah, I don't have, the only thing I can think of is to just make sure, I'm going to put this link in there, so really appreciate you trying to sort that out. Just to make sure that everyone's using this meeting room, like if there's some crazy reason I shared a meeting room that like isn't the right number, this is the one that we're in and the one that we're using. So thank you so much for helping out with that. Okay, so let me track. And so as we're feeling this call really to be leaders and to have our personal process going on and also sifting through how we're showing up professionally, it is my personal opinion that right now it is more important to be giving yourself that space to really tune inward and clear whatever has been holding you back, to connect to that energy you most want to nurture and you most want to anchor and you most want to help seed on this planet. And from that space of being clear and being connected, then to see what actions you want to take and how you might shift how you're working or how you're schooling your children or how you're creating your business or how you're connecting with your friends. So what I'm seeing is that in this particular kind of COVID-19 time, that this inner work is so vital for us to really set ourselves up for what is coming next and also be present for what's happening now. And so I want to share a story that will give some context to this. And so a couple weekends ago, I really felt called to go to a canyon nearby here. It's called the Dominguez Escalante Canyon. And for me, I had never been there before. It was something that was kind of like off on my radar. And someone had told me a few months ago that it was where the Native Americans who lived in Paonia would travel to this other canyon, that it was Eden East and Eden West. And I just felt this huge pull to go there, and I could not explain why. And so when I said this to my family, everyone was all up in arms. My son had already been there. He didn't want to go there. My husband wasn't sure, like, why are we doing this? And for me, I really had that, just that inner knowing of like, you have to go and do this. And so I consider myself a pretty spiritual person, and I feel like my life and my business are pretty aligned. But all of these callings and all these invitations feel like they're happening at a whole other level. And so when I arrived at this canyon and we hiked up, we found this amazing place that felt like many ceremonies had been done there. And I heard the message that my soul was suffocating. And to me, that was kind of surprising because, again, I feel pretty in tune with myself and the messages I receive. And I realized it was listening and discerning at a much deeper level of like, yes, at a certain level, all these things that you've set up and all these choices you've made and the way you're appearing is great. But at a deeper level, I was being asked to slow down and to listen even more deeply and to rest even more. And I watched my mind get involved in that because I actually have been doing less and it feels like it's taking more time to do less, which doesn't make any sense. And so I had to give myself that permission to rest even more. And as I was sitting there in this kind of dreaming meditation space, I started seeing some past lives and some very old deep stories that were starting to bubble up. And I realized how important it is to give ourselves the time and space to clear those. And I'm going to talk about this more a little later. And I also could feel how important it was to not just do the clearing, because I know for myself, usually when I meditate, it's easy up to this point, it's either been because I know I have some emotional thing going on with me that I need to look at, or I'm kind of getting downloads of here's the action you should take. And when I was sitting in that canyon, it was like, no, you're being asked to go into that formless, expansive space and at the same time be very present and in your body, very grounded. And I don't actually give myself that much time to do that. And so these are the kind of um, calls that I think many of us, how many have heard some message similar to that? Slow down, listen more deeply to what your intuition is saying, get more rest, spend time being in that seeding, nurturing, connecting, formless space. Look at what past life things are coming up. Yeah, some people are getting that message just to stop, for sure. For sure. Yeah, more double down on your contemplative practices, more quiet, totally. And so what I'm seeing is that there's just this need to just not back down from that inner knowing. So in the past, if my family would have pushed back on me saying, hey, I want to go to the canyon, I would have been like, okay, whatever, we can go somewhere else. And now it's like that's so fierce inside of me that I can't ignore that kind of message. And so as I was sitting in the canyon, I was watching these two hawks circle over above, and that kind of vision, that eagle vision, hawk vision, where you can see the very big picture, felt really, really strong to me. And I want to share with you a couple of the really big picture pieces, and then we'll kind of come back more down into the personal. And so for all of you who are joining us, I'm glad to see Penny here, and I'm sorry about whatever the little confusion was with the Zoom. So I am going to share a recording and we'll kind of get you caught up, but I just want to let you know you're welcome and included in this conversation. And so as I was like looking at that really big picture eagle view, it was like I was watching these like two overlapping times that we're right now in this COVID-19 time, and then we're also coming into this age of Aquarius time. And that for so many of us who have been on these kind of spiritual paths and personal growth paths, we've actually been waiting for this time. And that there's been this like inner knowing that something big is going to happen or needs to happen, or there was a yearning for a big shift in consciousness, not just in the small group of those of us who are doing our work, but for the whole planet. So who's had that sense for almost like you're like, okay, it's finally here. I've been waiting for this to come. Yeah, lots of people are raising their hands. And so I could feel that relief of, okay, what is it going to take to wake us up from being in that more pushing, doing, consuming, being out of harmony with Mother Earth time, and shift us into a time that is balanced and coming from the inside out and really respecting the resources that Mother Earth shares with us and being in tune with ourselves. And so I'm just curious, how many of you have been doing inner work for years? If you want to pop a number, yeah, lots of hands going up. If you want to pop how long you've been on this kind of path, I'd love to hear that. And earlier, since we have some people coming on right now, how many people why don't we just name what was that energy you contributed to the inside of our circle when we circled up? And if you're just joining us, like what is that energetic quality you want in your everyday life? Like, why have you been doing this inner work for all of these years? And if you had a name, like for me, I always come back to harmony and being centered, having a kind of calmness and ease and flow in my life. Throw some words in the box. Joy, yeah. Peaceful, yeah. Inner grounding, beautiful. Any other ones want to come through? I'll give everyone a moment to orient themselves to being on the call. And connection with self and others. I love that. Yeah, there's always that pull between the two. Aligned and in integrity. Hey, Lori. Expansive, self-acceptance, connection to the divine, quiet, grounded, contemplative. Yeah, beautiful. And so what I'm sensing and feeling, and I'm sure so many of you are as well, is that this crisis is like that wake-up call. It's part of that shift that's happening. And so I have felt so comforted knowing that this coronavirus time, this is going to pass, and we are not going back to normal. Like, it actually grates me a little bit when I hear people say, I can't wait to get back to normal. Like, everything in my being is saying, no, like, that is not the intent that is helpful here. So yes, we can have an intent to ease suffering and to ease loss and to ease the fear and to have compassion for so many people who are in those spaces. But we can also trust that the illness and the death and all these shifts in working and shifts in our routine, that this is actually working on behalf of us humans, and that we are learning some really deep lessons during these times. So we're not trying to get rid of it or push through it. For me, I picture just holding space for all of this to play out. And how can I do my part in clearing whatever needs to? How can I do my part in connecting into that energy I most want to live every day of my life? And what kind of creations then come out of me to support others around me? And so Anna Claire had this great conversation with me, and she shared some great resources around, we're coming into that age of Aquarius. And I'm not someone who's super versed in astrology or astrological ages, but I know I've heard that phrase over and over again, right? We've all heard that song, The Age of Aquarius. And so it's talking about a 2,000-year cycle, that we're actually moving out of one 2,000-year cycle and into another 2,000-year plus cycle. And we're leaving that age where the predominant focus or lens that we're looking through is power and money and control. And instead, we're now anchoring into our daily lives and our daily routines and into our consciousness, an age that's more characterized by cooperation and peace and oneness and freedom and invention and just new ways to use technology and love and relationships and intuition. And so all these words that are now in the chat box are all energies that contribute to the birthing of this age. And so what I'm witnessing is that this particular crisis is really opening the mainstream to be ready for us. So there's going to be more openness to the esoteric and to spirituality and to woo-woo and to consciousness and sustainability and all these values that we all hold so dear to us. And so part of what's happening is that this whole feminine consciousness is rising. And what I mean by that is that story I said where, going to the canyon, I'm feeling the logical masculine mind saying, well, it doesn't make sense to go there. I don't want to do this. And me saying, I can't explain why, but I just know we have to do this. I'm witnessing now as well. I'm feeling very called to plant a garden. And I've been watching in my mind's eye my property kind of morph and seeing much more green in my high desert Colorado ranch. And so one of the characteristics of our garden area is it has these big creosote railroad ties that the last owners had installed. And every time I go over there, I can just feel it's like, again, it's like that suffocating, constrained, constricted feeling. And I just keep hearing like those need to come out of the ground and those do not belong on this property. And of course, my husband is looking at me like, do you understand what it takes to pull out 10 railroad ties we're going to need an excavator here to be able to lift them up and remove them. And luckily he's had much practice in just honoring whatever those impetuses I have. And I can't even completely rationally explain it. I know the creosote doesn't feel good in the ground and it's not a place I want the actual garden, but I just have that intuition of like it's the next right step. And so this is that characteristic of feminine consciousness rising, where we have our intuitions and our downloads and the information that you can't possibly know. And we're being given that invitation that our head is going to serve our heart. So the first place that we get the information and the direction from comes from that inner knowing and that excitement and that creativity. And then we take a step back and say, great, like how can my head, how can my logic serve me in accomplishing this? And so I'm just watching in so many ways how our businesses are changing and how our daily lives are changing, that there's this big invitation to be more in the moment, to be free to just do or be whatever way you want to. Like I'm noticing my husband will often ask me like, well, what's the plan for tomorrow, or what do you want to do tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know. It's not tomorrow yet. We have to wait until we get there. And I can feel inside of myself as I'm practicing the shift in this way of being that it can bring up that discomfort, because even with myself, my doer likes certainty. It likes knowing what's next. It likes knowing the plan. And when I'm faced with the unknown and I'm faced with the uncertainty or not being able to logically explain why, all that discomfort starts to arise. And so this kind of feminist consciousness, which I'm sure all of us have heard about, it's not something that's just happening in our larger dream and happening through Me Too and Time's Up and all these kind of movements, but it's also happening within ourselves and within our relationships and within our families. And so all of this is contributing just to that breakdown. Like right now, we're seeing this breakdown in society, in ways of being, before we actually get to the breakthrough. And so I want to ask you right now, what is it that needs to die inside of you? What way of being, what way of navigating, in the way you relate to people in your daily life, especially in your home or your romantic partnerships or with your children, like what has to die within you, and then what has to die in our collective dream to really be able to come through this time and really enter into this kind of age of Aquarius energy. And you might immediately feel an answer, or you may need to explore that for yourself. But I know it's so easy to feel ready and to feel like we've been waiting for so many years or so many lifetimes, and yet there's still a process that's going on. And when we look at the seasons, we don't just go from winter time where nothing's happening to, spring harvest, fall time where we're reaping all these plants and the bounty of the earth, that there's actually cycles that are happening. And to really fully engage in this kind of age of Aquarius time, so many things have to break down before we're really going to have that kind of breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm seeing beautiful, beautiful reflections here. A fear of surrendering. I need to drop into consistent softness with my husband. Ooh, I got chills on that. Iva saying head control shift down. Yeah, a lot of things about letting go of control. An
Mm-hmm.
addiction to nonstop productivity. I totally feel that, Penny. I can see how hard it is for me to say, you know what, you don't have to be like at a desk all day long, just powering through it. Claiming myself after a divorce, huge. Fear and self-doubt, fear of being seen, yes. Less striving, more receiving, right? So we're all in this kind of deep purification, recalibration, rewiring, reattuning cycle. And for some of us, we're healing our own beliefs. Some of us, how many people have been really feeling past life stuff come up? Yeah, a lot of us are looking at past lives. There's like cellular memory in our bodies. Some of us are really feeling and working with that collective energy. And so what I'm really noticing is that, especially those of us who feel that kind of star seed, light worker, healer, way shower, guide energy, that when we spoke out in the past, or when we tried to share our vision of what I'm talking in past lives here, we try to share our vision or our way of being, it often ended badly for us, right? There's like some cellular memory of I got burned or I drowned or I got thrown to the lions or I was killed in some way. And I heard this phrase, I think I heard it from Rita, that so many of us have karmic PTSD. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a great description of that
That
is
is so
is
great.
that there feels like there's this ongoing lifetime ancient, can't name it, kind of trauma that we're recovering from. And so you might be noticing that old stories are coming up. Like, why does it even matter what I'm doing? It's not going to make a difference. Or I tried before and I failed and I don't want to do that again. Or it isn't safe here. Or when I was in that canyon, I was seeing both from me being a brave, like a masculine energy. I can't protect my people and tribe. And then also from a feminine perspective of being so angry at the men who are abusing their power and not protecting the tribe, and so much around being seen and heard. So if that feels like it's applying to you, then all these stories are just asking to be released and cleared so that you're not leaning back and you're not holding back and expressing yourself in your business or in your service or whatever way you are being called to create. And so I want to so acknowledge and honor that. And I also notice, especially with this shift coming through the full moon, that when I was being invited on a group call to clear this kind of old energy and trauma, like it didn't exist in that moment for me. And what I was feeling in a very embodied sensation way was just an overpouring of the gratitude and that centeredness and that harmony inside of me. And I realized that when I sit down to do my inner work, if I don't have something to clear, I often just get up and I skip the other end of the spectrum. So if you've been really putting your attention and doing your work on clearing that discomfort, then don't
Oh,
forget that there's also value in putting energy and simply sitting and being present and breathing with whatever that, what I'm kind of calling this age of Aquarius, whatever the reason why you're drawn to do your work in the first place is. And that we also want to be nurturing this kind of energy in ourselves and letting that radiate out. And so I'm I'm seeing this whole time as not just a disruption to right now, where we're all in self quarantine or in lockdown, that this disruption is actually a huge invitation in my schedule and in my routine. And at first, it was kind of that feeling of like, okay, I'm just going to temporarily rearrange things so I can help school my children or I can do my own inner work. But then somehow in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'll get back to, being more productive, or I'll get back to working in a different way. And that's shifted inside of me to say, how can I use this time to create how I actually want to live and work? And so, I watched myself for a week where I would come out to my office and I would get something done, and then I'd run inside to help with the homeschooling of my children. And we've been doing some art classes with our daughter-in-law. And at first I was like, oh, now I got to stop that and run back out to my office. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is amazing. I never take the time to do art in the middle of the day, or I don't take the time to normally go out to our garden area and figure out what we're doing there. Or I don't take the time to meditate as much as I like. So, what can you be doing right now to seed and to plant? How is it that you want to live for the next whatever, next year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, that this disruption is actually giving you that chance to say, what if I could create my life any way I wanted and I could really use this time to fulfill my soul and my soul's purpose? What would my day look like? What would my week look like? How would I live each and every day? And for me, I was laughing. I'm like kind of attached to this idea of I go to my office every day for a certain number of hours and I get a lot done in that time, but that's not really what my soul craves. Like my soul does crave breaks in the middle of the day to go outside and be in nature, to lie on the ground or to spend some time with my children. So how can you take that and be inspired? So if there's something bubbling up in you right now, of what would you do in your daily life or in your daily business that you could actually continue well past this time. What would that be? I'd love to hear in the comment box. Yeah, Gloria Jean saying, be present, see the opportunity in a moment. Awesome. Helen is saying, I've been living this way for a while now because I retired. Beautiful. And maybe there's an invitation to go even deeper, right? Julie would love to have 10-minute creative moments every day. I love that. Like busting into a living room dance session. It's hard to do that in a cubicle. Totally. Yeah. Do less and be more, right? Meditate more. Totally. Yeah. Being in nature. Yeah. So we want to use this time, not just to say like, okay, there's a little glitch right now, but we can create something that's ongoing. And so a lot of what I think is happening is we're just like reeling back in that long term. Like I'm watching things that I planned for, months from now or even weeks from now is like be present now and to be open to whatever the shifts, whatever your own energy is. So one day you may have that sense of like, I'm going to get nothing done today. It's just like a unfocused, enjoy that spread out energy. And then the next day is a really high focus day. So please don't fall prey to that thinking that it's always going to be that way. Like how many people have noticed how much just this week, I'm like, Monday, I heard so many people talk about they could hardly get anything done. And then I think it was maybe it was like Wednesday. It was like a really focused day for a lot of people. And so like you want to dance as fast as God, right? You want to be able to change and shift based on what you're feeling and what you're being called to do and to be more flexible, to allow yourself to just show up and be present for that. And so I just want to take a pause here to see if any comments or reflections, and then we're going to move on to talk about how you can really show up as that leader and serve. Eve saying I'm vacillating between total spaciness to sadness to joy to productivity. Yeah, and it's like developing that skill to really just roll with it. Gloria Jean's quoting Damiel Ruiz, who is our mentor. Find a million ways to say I love you. Yeah. Echo was saying, I want to be doing art and deep therapeutic work, but have fewer clients. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's shift a little bit and talk about how to show up as that leader and to really serve your community now. And so I can feel that there is this really deep craving in the public, online, in person, for leadership. And to me, what kind of leadership is being called for right now is that calm leadership, right? That there's that sense of I'm grounded, I'm present, I'm here to lead my tribe in whatever way you do. And that doesn't mean that you can't show vulnerability or share what it is that is personally going on for you. But there's also a sense of just being able to hold that space of like a reassuring sense of we're going through this together. It's okay. I'm here. I'm showing up. And how can I serve you? And so I know I challenged myself when I got that inner message to do the prayers for the planet, which we've been doing every day at 5 o'clock Eastern for just 10-15 minutes on Facebook. That so many people, I could feel them just like relax into the place of like, I have a little place that feels safe, that feels like I'm being nurtured and being held, and it's okay to go through all these ups and downs and shifts. And so each one of you are also being given that invitation to be a leader of your tribe and to show up with that sense of just like, hey, we're in this together, we got this. And I may have just figured it out yesterday or last week, but here's what it is that's working for me. And so I'm watching as I'm looking kind of out into my world that I've had to let go of a sense of judgment and guilt that like my tribe isn't bigger yet, or my brand isn't ready yet, or I haven't completely harmonized my gifts and what I've been saying and doing with the overall direction of what I'm meant to share. So how many of you have had that sense of like, you have a sense of like guilt or frustration that you haven't worked it out quite the way you would have loved to go into this time, and now there's that like, I know I'm supposed to be doing something, but it just hasn't come forward yet, or I can't articulate it yet, or I don't know exactly how to market it yet. Yeah, lots of yeses, and definitely, for sure. And so many of you have probably heard me talk about this. I actually started working on my new brand last May, so it's almost been a year. And I thought for sure it would be ready by September, and then ready by December, and then ready, early first quarter this year. And it's still not, the website's still not done, right? And I've had to keep inviting myself to not let that more presentable creation hold me back from doing what I feel called to do. And it's actually perfect timing now that I have that ability to step back, because if I had launched my website and then COVID-19 had showed up, it actually wouldn't have really resonated, and it wouldn't have allowed me to fully share what I'm feeling called to at this time. And so I want to just invite everyone, like, just imagine like water just pouring over you, cleansing, clearing you. If you have any of this sense of, I'm still dialing it in, I'm still trying to figure it out, what I'm seeing is that my brand is this fully shining woman leading our world, which is perfect and beautiful and will allow me to pivot in a lot of different directions. But I'm having to meet it. I'm having to actually show up and come from my heart and kind of clear away the distractions and align even deeper, so that when it is ready to share it with the world, I'm ready and I've embodied that energy. And so we're all being asked to just grow so our business can grow, or the way we're being of service can grow. And so in this moment, I would like all of us just to call in that however we create, that it's going to be done with less efforting, and that the that your actual vibration, your presence, your awareness, your consciousness, just who you innately are, without having to do more work or more evolution or fix anything, that this is what is going to call in and attract our clients to us, our tribe to us, and that each of us can use this time to get even clearer about how is it are you presenting yourself to the world? How is it are you leading? And for me, I can really feel that disjointedness, that for the most part, I've been presenting myself more as a business coach than a shamanic healer. And yet my greatest gifts and talents are more around that more shamanic energy. And I've had to really explore deeply how do I show up best? And so oftentimes I show up as a teacher of knowledge, right? I've taught people how to create a retreat or how to build a business. And yet this format is much more in tune with me channeling energy and seeing patterns in the energy and bringing groups together. And so all these little tweaks have to happen so that we can really show up fully and who we are, without all the extra ways of being that we might be quite good at, but at our essence it's not really how we are being called to serve. And so I want to challenge each of you to make whatever has been invisible visible. So for me, that looks like I want to stop hiding my ability to read energetic trends, or to bring women together in peer groups and all support each other. And I don't have to actually have like a set curriculum of what I'm teaching. Or I am actually articulating across social media, websites, emails, whatever, that the work I do is first and foremost around soul's purpose, and then secondarily around putting this in place in your business. Yes, own who you be, as Susan said so eloquently. Yes, so your soul is calling out to you. So how can you answer that call? And I know, so Devorah's on the line with me, and she sent me an email after we did, I tried an experiment. Could I do a fire ceremony out in front of my healing space with my computer actually right next to my fire pit? And Devorah said, oh, it's so wonderful to get to see you in this way. And Devorah and I have known each other for, I don't know, 15 years at least, maybe longer. And when I was living in Marblehead, where Devorah is located, I was doing fire ceremonies, but never in Marblehead. And I don't know if I ever really talked about that. And so for me, it was interesting reflection to hear something that's so inherent in who I am and a practice I've had all these years with someone who I consider a dear friend, had no idea that this was part of my practice. And so that's what I'm talking about, like those things that seem so obvious to you or things that are really important to you, but you haven't shared them either because you just haven't thought of it, or it didn't fit in your business model, or you thought it was too crazy or too strange, that you're making all these invisible things that are really what you love to do and really what you're called to do. You're putting them forward so that people can really see you for who you are, and we're not doing this kind of hiding. Okay, so the next key and the next piece has to do with what I touched on earlier around deeply listening to your own intuition. And I know for myself, I've felt that kind of linking up with that perfect timing. Every time I would check in with myself about, is it time to, launch a brand or launch a program or share my message another way, I just kept hearing like, wait. And then one day it was like, no, go. And so you have to really listen to that, right? Like what is the energy that's going on for you right now? And I think while there might be some overlapping themes, all of us are in different spaces. And so I've heard some of you talk about, I'm in a dying phase, I'm in a death phase, I'm really like dismantling my old business. And other people have said, I'm in a fallow phase. I'm just resting and waiting. And other people are feeling really active and energized. And I want to go back to that idea of dancing as fast as God, because even if you can put on that lens of like, okay, if I'm in a death phase, I don't need to push myself to create. Or if I'm in a fallow phase, I don't need to revert to some old habit of feeling anxious that I haven't presented the next thing to my tribe. And at the same time, to give yourself that freedom to play. Like if something bubbles up that feels like it's supposed to come out, don't give yourself that message of like, oh, well, just because I'm supposed to be looking at the world through fallowness, I can't also have something really creative come out. And so for me, this is really about like, how can I be in service to spirit? Like whatever energy, whatever vibe, whatever phase I'm in, how can I really honor that and then listen and discern deeply and closely to like what is being asked of me? What parts might bubble up and just say yes now, and other parts that are in that space of just like, no, wait. And it's okay to kind of be shifting and dancing and changing quickly. So I want to again take a little pause to see anything bubbling up for this that people want to articulate or share. Gloria Jean saying, wisdom articulated, the right balance of intention and action and surrender. Yes. Yes, we're all shape-shifting. That's a good word for it, Helen, for sure. For sure. Okay, so let's move into kind of the last chunk of what I wanted to speak to. It's just like, how can you show up in your business? So I know a lot of you have worked with me as a business coach, and it feels like everything has changed over the last 4 weeks. I know I've changed, and we've been throwing out a lot of what you've been told, including what you may have heard from me. And at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of both ands here, not just either or. At the same time, there's a lot of skills you can still use, right? So for me, when so many of us like went out online and we got all these different trainings, we listened to all these different online experts tell us, here's how you do funnels or webinars or retreats or whatever it is, that we can take the essence of what those pieces are, but then we also need to have that discernment of what applies to me, what feels right to me. And so I can picture that way artists are often taught, where you learn how to paint like the masters paint, but then at some point you also have to break that and really develop your own style. And so in some ways, everything that we've been talking about, I feel like chuck it out the window, and then other things feel like what we've been saying are more relevant now than ever. And so let me see if I can articulate some of those pieces. So it feels like a lot of the old rules of business have dissolved. That idea that you have to be strategic in everything you do, that you have to be super consistent, like figure out your niche, put it out there, don't waver, don't have anything that doesn't line up with that, don't change. And that feels like it's disintegrating. The new roles, if you want to call them rules, feel like the invitation is show up. Like, what's easy? What's exciting? Use that energy to guide you. What have you known you're meant to do, but you put it aside? And once you give yourself that permission to experiment and be creative, how can you then take that step back and say, okay, I've mastered this piece. I figured out I'm doing Facebook Lives every day. Now can you do a Facebook Live and add in a little piece of, well, here's another step for the people to keep working with you. And then when you've mastered that, can you also put that on your YouTube channel? Can you just keep adding one little step, one little step, one little step? And if there's like, please, 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 I just see so much like, please stop the perfectionism. Like, now is not the time to let your perfectionist tendencies get in the way. Like, right now we just need to show up. It's fine to be messy. It's fine to experiment. What feels right? Show up and share your talents, share your voice. So if you have that inspiration of, I want to talk on this topic today, and you show up on a Facebook Live and it's not the exact alignment with your brand, please do that. I had a client say to me the other day, well, I stopped sharing my messages because I didn't know how to be strategic about it. And I like wanted to kind of cringe and pull my hair out, because that wasn't the point of being strategic, when so many healers and coaches were all over the place in terms of who is your ideal client and what problem are you solving and how can you have offerings that relate to it. Then yes, we want to get you to have more focus and be more strategic. But we don't want to crimp down that channel of you experimenting and expressing and being of service. All right. So I want everyone to commit to, when you get that call to express yourself or share an offering or show up on Facebook or share a blog with your tribe, that you listen to that, even if it's not completely lined up with everything else. So who's willing to do that? Who's willing to kind of say, I don't care if I don't like how I look or sound on Facebook. I don't care if I can't completely articulate why this is different than anything I've done before. I don't care if, my hair looks crazy one day and I didn't put on makeup. Like, your commitment is share yourself, show up. And I'd rather not let you get held up because you don't have the landing page or you don't have the autoresponder, or like I'm sharing my website. Like, for a while I was like, oh, I just want my website to be in place so my brand makes sense. And I'm like, okay, that's like bullshit. It's just like time to listen to what you're called to do, and then pause and ask yourself, how could I share this even more? What could I tie this into? What is the next right step? And all we need to do is follow the breadcrumbs. Like, we don't need to have the 10-year plan worked out or the 5-year or 1-year plan worked out. Like, what is that next right step for you? You have to start from where you're at. And so I have a lot of people ask me, like, okay, I'm ready. I really want to go out there and serve people, but I don't have a tribe. And I remember so clearly being in this place when I moved to New Hampshire. And I moved from kind of like a big metropolis with lots of resources to this like little tiny town. I'm like, how am I ever going to build a tribe? I was used to doing things in person and not online. And so I made an agreement with myself that at first I just wanted to touch one life a day. Whether it was I wrote a blog and someone got an aha from it, or I went on a Facebook Live and someone responded to it. I just wanted to touch one life a day. And then once I was comfortably doing that and I was doing that regularly, I'm like, how could I touch 10 lives a day? How could I do 100? How could I do 1,000? Right? There, from what I've seen, there are a very small percentage of people who somehow go viral. And usually when they've done that, they've still been like practicing their content and sharing their gifts in some way. But for most of us, it starts out with you're sharing with a few people, and then that expands to a few more, and that expands to a few more, and that expands to a few more. And so please do not set your bar so high that if you're not reaching, what that big fully envisioned goal you have, that you're not going to do anything. If you get one more name on your email list, or you have one more person who says something you said to me today made an impact, then take that in as a replenishment and a return of what you've been putting out there. And then take that next step. How can I reuse this? How could I repurpose this? How could I be a little more strategic about it? Everyone on board and agreeing? Okay. So the next piece that I think is so important in our businesses right now is that we need to pivot to be more immediate, to be more now. So how many of you have heard me talk about having a promise? Yeah. So a promise is like a pressing real life problem you solve for your people. And so your business overall might have a promise. A particular program you're offering could have a promise. A retreat could have a promise. And so right now, your Facebook Lives could have a promise, right? It's something that people are going to walk away with by the end of it. So today, I'm promising you that you're going to know how to show up more fully for yourself and for your tribe and for humanity. And I'm going to give you some tools to help you do that. And so right now, whatever it was that you were doing before coronavirus, it needs to be even more immediate, because people are now not thinking so much about, I want to do the higher level show up, um, do like soul work stuff. They're also trying to figure out, how do I just survive? How do I feed my family? How do I make money? How do I not go crazy being at home all day with my partner or my children? And so any ways you can pivot to be more immediate for what are people actually thinking about now, the more successful you'll be in your business. So if you look at, for like Wanderlust, we've been teaching people how to do retreats, but right now no one's doing retreats because we can't travel. And most people aren't even thinking about, how can I learn to do retreats, because we don't know when this will be over. And so our pivot was teaching people how to offer virtual online retreats right now, right? That becomes much more relevant to what's happening now. Or let's say you are a chef and you teach cooking classes, and normally you teach people how to have like fancy dinner parties with all your friends. No one cares about that right now because we can't hang out with our friends. So you might need to pivot to say, how can you take what's in your pantry with limited supplies in a grocery store with kids at your feet and create a healthy meal for you and your family? Okay, so is everyone seeing what I mean by getting even more relevant and immediate right now? Yeah. And so right now, whatever your message is, that to me is just more important than you trying to figure out, what's my strategy, or what I would call the mechanics. And so for me, I was putting a lot of time before this into thinking about, okay, what is my autoresponder sequence, and what's the new freebie, and how does this all tie into everything? And I've kind of put that aside to say, right now, today, what am I inspired to share, and how can that be something that is much more relevant and in the now than what it might have been a month ago or some weeks ago. And I'm also really encouraging myself to stop trying to cram yourself in a structure that doesn't showcase your true gifts, or it's based on like what those experts were recommending. So I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and in the course of the conversation, we had done a retreat where she got really clear on who she was working with and what she was going to offer in the program. And then she kind of went on a little walkabout because she was wanting to create something that she felt more people who had money would buy. And so as we reeled it back in, she got really clear on, no, this original idea is really what her soul is calling for her to do. And her trying to cram herself into having outlines and having things pre-recorded is not how she shows up best. She shows up best by channeling and being present and seeing who's showing up on the line in front of her. And so I want you to do the same for yourself, to look at how can I just share my message right now and not spend as much time trying to figure out the mechanics and the structure, but just show up, right? Maybe all you need to know is how could I have a couple marketing bullet points to share this content, and I don't need to have the whole program written out, or I don't need to have um, like all the details of the structure worked out. Like, how can you just get creative and play and show up? I love that. Yes. Susan said that online opportunity is insane right now. A friend made $20,000 for a 1 hour dance class today. She had 2,000 people at $10 a person. Yes. So a lot of it is like so many people are kind of being pushed online. Like the person I was giving you that example of a cooking class, she realized, she's like, oh, it's actually so much easier for me to do a virtual retreat. I don't have to clean up after the people when they're done. I can have a camera over my counter and my stove. And she's actually seeing where before she couldn't envision doing things online because she was so used to teaching people in person, that now she's realizing that's a great way for her to share with many more people. And so really just tune in. Like when when I started getting ready for this class, I'm like, okay, in the past I would have really worked everything out, and this time it's just like, who would I invite? What groups would I post in? I just listen and trust. Or with the prayers for the planet, I promised myself I wasn't going to make it complicated. It's like whoever pops into my mind or my heart about being someone to invite, that's who I ask. Whether my mind says, oh, that person will never do it, or I don't even understand why I'm inviting that person. I'm just following those intuitions. And so if we start practicing all these ways of being, I really feel like we're setting ourselves up for that new normal once the coronavirus passes. Because you're right, Susan, more people are going to be working from home, more people are going to be working online, more people are homeschooling, more people are going to be open to spirituality and caring for the earth. And so we have to just think about, what can we do right now that we are showing up and building our tribe? How can we be actually more generous, right? A lot of people are out of work, and then at the same time other people are actually in better positions, because I know for myself my income hasn't changed, but we're not spending money ordering things on Amazon or going on vacations or going out and doing, fun things with the family. So don't tell yourself that people don't have money right now. People are still investing. People are looking for ways to get to know you, those freebies, whether your freebie is just you get on Facebook and you share some great message, or you put together a video series. Like how can you um, be creative about options? Like maybe they don't even have to opt in. They don't even have to give you their email. Like for this, I just emailed my list. I told anyone who wanted to come, here's the link to the Zoom call. I didn't ask anyone for their email. Some people did say, is there a replay? And for me, I'm like, I'm not individually mailing out a replay to everyone. So if you do want a replay, then give me your email address and I'm happy to send that out all at once. So just looking at those ways, how can I be more generous? How can I make it easier for people to get to know me? If you are going to make an offer to people, is there a way to do it low priced, or can you do pick your price? When Sherry and I did that virtual retreat mini class, we did a 2 hour class and we said the recommended price is $97 and you could pick your price. And I think the average price people paid was like $19, and we ended up making $12,000 from that class. So give people options. If someone really can't afford something right now, I'm not talking about like your time in terms of private coaching, but if you do have a way you're serving a group of people, does it matter to you if there's a couple of people on there who are paying less or for free, if that's what they really need? And so there's just this fine line right now between monetizing this time, like you don't want to come off as sleazy or taking advantage of it, and at the same time offering what is needed. And as you're going through this process, to just keep tuning in, like what feels like open doors, what feels like excitement, what feels like pleasure or happiness, or whatever that energy you want to nurture inside of yourself. And when you start meeting any kind of resistance, or if things are not working out, I was trying to talk to a friend of mine who's a media, like knows a lot about social media and PR, and we just could not seem to get a time that worked. And every time we thought we were going to talk, one of us wasn't feeling good. And I'm like, okay, this just is not happening. Like that is my little roadblock sign of like, that's not the direction you're meant to go on. Don't put more energy into that. Let the happiness and the laughter and the excitement be your guides. Okay, and so I'm taking a little note of the time. I want to kind of just recap some of the main ideas I just shared, and then I just love to open it up to questions and any other suggestions or comments people have. And so just to let all this really sink in, I'm just going to ask everyone to close your eyes for a moment and just take a breath into your body. I know I've shared a lot of words and a lot of energy. And as I'm saying these simple phrases, I want you to just check in with your body. Are you hearing a yes? Are you hearing a that's for me? Are you feeling some kind of excitement or inspiration? Or if it feels neutral or even a no, maybe your body's leaning away or you're feeling yourself pulling back from it, put it aside. So what I want you to walk away with is knowing that you are born for this time. In fact, you are probably prepared during multiple lifetimes for this time. And that we need you. We need you to be of service, to share your gifts, your talents, just your essence. That way you're beautifully and uniquely configured with the world. So show up, get over the distractions, let the clearing happen, let go of perfectionism, let go of it having to all be organized and worked out and strategic. Show up, share your message. And I want you to listen deeply, make even more time for the listening and the spaciousness so that you're willing to trust that inner knowing even when it doesn't make sense. And get comfortable with the unknown, with all these shifting energies. How can you be flexible? How can you pivot? How can you do or be exactly the way you're being called to each and every day? And allow yourself to really shine, really let your essence and your unique gifts, like do you the way you would do you, not the way anyone else has told you, not the way you've done it in the past. And all you need to do is follow the breadcrumbs, whatever that little nudge is for the next right step. You don't have to have the whole plan worked out. As soon as you see what that step is, to honor that, take that step. Something else is going to open up by doing that. And I want you to be more generous and more immediate in your business right now. And that's going to serve you and your tribe and all of humanity. And so as you come back and open your eyes, I'd love for you to type in the chat box, like, what was your biggest aha? What really sparked something in you? What's something that you want to practice or implement? I'd love to hear that feedback, and I'd love for you to just be witnessed by everybody else, to hold that space for you to take something away. I know when I write things down, it makes a difference for me. And when I feel that yes, to acknowledge, yeah, that's the direction I want to go in. Lori's saying, I love the idea of Reaching one person at a time. Yeah, one person at a time and keep growing. Dancing with the speed of God. Yeah, follow the breadcrumbs to stay on the path. Yep. Julia, lead an online writing group for soothing people's souls. Ooh, I like that. Continue to show up and trust. Yeah, Anna Claire, be spontaneous. That's a good way to say it. Angela, trusting intuition. Awesome. All right, I have chills now. Stop overthinking, just show up. Being fully me, no excuses. Yes. Doing me, yeah. Letting go of perfection. Awesome. I love the idea of doing what feels alive and fun and exciting and immediate. Yeah. Okay. And so I checking in on the order. Yeah, I'd love to see if there's any questions. And if anyone has something you want to share that's been working for you, you can let me know if it'd be easier to unmute you or if you want to just type and share it. I do want to let everyone know that I have been doing prayers for the planet every day at 5 o'clock Eastern. It's on my Facebook page. And if you just go search for Megan Gilroy on Facebook, you'll find me popping up there. We have great guests that come on throughout the week. And anything else? Yeah, I've kind of been, I feel like something's forming around gathering a group on how to emerge as that leader you're meant to be, and whether it's kind of getting over your own what's holding you back, or how to really facilitate transformation with your clients and in groups, and kind of amping up your shamanic abilities. That seems to be floating around me. So if that's something that interests you, I'd love some feedback on that. If there's anything else you feel like, oh, I'd love to hear Megan talk or channel on that topic, I'd love to hear that. So feel free to pop that in the question box. Okay, so Rosemary saying one right step each day, my Facebook page, very cool. Anna's gonna start a Facebook page and a blog with videos. Yeah, just start. Ooh, Helen's gonna read a sonnet a day on YouTube. That's cool. I love the idea of following laughter and joy and ease. Yeah. Julie saying, I really appreciate what you're doing here. My spirituality is in the closet much of the time, so thanks for planting a seed. Cool. Awesome. All right, cool. Penny likes the idea of facilitating transformation in the shamanic journey. Okay, so is there anyone who has a question or wants to share a thought or anything that you've been doing that really helps you? Susan saying, I didn't know we could do a blog on Facebook. So I would say, Susan, it's really that you're either sharing a link to a blog that's on your website on Facebook, or you could take some of the content that's the blog hosted on your website and stick it into your Facebook page. So it's not like the blog is directly on Facebook. Yeah. Anyone else? Rosemary, do you have anything to say today?
Can you hear me?
Okay, this is so weird. I cannot hear you. Can everyone else hear Rose? Yes. Okay, so you're going to talk and I have no idea what you're saying.
Oh my God. That is so bizarre. Check your headset.
When your lips stop moving, I will know you're done.
Okay.
Oh,
I think, hi, Susan.
Here you go.
Oh, good. There you go. I think, yeah, I want to say that I love this, and I am, it's so funny how I have those twinkling inspirations inside, and they've been bubbling lately, and being here on this call now, it's like, it's now, trust. I think that's the big piece right now. I'm not going to make any sense of what I'm saying now. I'm just going to say that now. It's about trusting ourselves in each moment through this process that we're all going through right now. You get drawn to something. For me, it's Glennon Doyle. Like, I listen to Glennon Doyle every morning on Instagram. If you guys don't know who she is, she's an amazing human being who's written several books, and you should check her out. Glennon Doyle, she just wrote a book called Untamed. Powerful book, mind-blowing. Check it out. But she does what she calls a family meeting every morning on Instagram. And can I tell you how much I love that? Because her family are the 10,000 followers that she's got on her Instagram. That's her family meeting. And I know every time I listen to her family meeting, I'm like, my God, that's me. Yes. Like, she's so real and so authentic and so relatable and so beautiful. And I'm like sitting here going, okay, I have this Facebook page that I created, I don't know, a year ago, Megan, maybe. I don't know how long ago. And I invited a few friends and I invited some people, and then I've posted a few things, and then crickets, literally crickets, people. And I'm like listening now going, oh, now, right? Like, I've been saving all these memes in my phone. I don't know why I've been doing it, but I've been saving them. I'm like, oh, right. Like, start doing videos, share those memes that when you read them or heard them, this is what I've been preparing for. It's like, really is. It's like, it's all just, it's like this massive download going on right now for me through this process of just like, wow, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And I think it's, you know, I'm very clear through this coronavirus that we can't keep hiding, people. We can't keep hiding. We can't keep pretending like maybe what I have to say is important, because if you can touch one person, if you can connect with one human, and there are billions of people on the planet, there are plenty of people to connect with. My God, we could all do the same exact thing and have a whole new audience. So I'm like really clear, like I can hear, like I have this part of me that can connect to an energy that's, you know, it's what, you know, we each have our powers and our gifts, and I can hear them going, yeah, 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 yeah. That's it. Go, do it. Get out there. Stop hiding. Stop saying, and don't have expectations. Like, yes, I hear that. Like, detach from the expectations of what it's going to look like, or am I going to have a big audience, or am I going to have a lot of people commenting? Just do it, right? Like, just do it. Don't do it for anyone else. Do it for yourself, right? Like, if you just do this for yourself and show up, I know energetically that you just touch people. I mean, I've touched people in my life that I had no intentions in that moment to do anything other than to be me, right? And I just think it's time for all of us to show up. Like, we've got to show up. It is so important, and there's so many of us out there with so many gifts and so many abilities, and we hide because we're afraid. And you know what, the other thing that's really good with this COVID time, be with those things that we're afraid of, right? Like, have those moments of like, wow, why don't I show up? Oh, I'm worried about what people are going to think. Oh, okay, well, let's be with that. What's that about? You know, what are those judgments? And just, you know, that's what it's been for me, right? Like, just keep going in. Every time a story shows up that says you cannot, like the moment I hear, no, you can't do that, or, oh, I don't think so, or I'm afraid, or any stories that start to show up, go in, take advantage. People, come on, what are we doing? We're all in our homes, we're stuck, might as well take advantage. You know, be with it. If you can be present with something now, it'll move a lot cleaner and a lot more peacefully and easily through your system than if we go, oh, okay, tomorrow, or oh, okay, tonight, or oh, okay, no, now. Like, I keep hearing now. Just be with your stuff. Let it show up so that we can shine. We are fully, you know, I love Megan's thing, fully shining women. We are fully shining women. And yet we dim, right? Like, we keep dimming ourselves. Why do we do that? It's so sad. No more dimming. I'm not dimming anymore. And whoever wants to join me, join me. I'm not dimming anymore. It's time.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for letting me do that, Megan.
I love your passion and your tears. That, yes, you perfectly articulated. We stop the hiding, shine. Let's not dim ourselves, and let's be okay. We do this, right? It's not that we're going to just show up and suddenly be constantly fully shining and never have another thing to look at or resolve, but we want to change that
default from, okay, I'm constantly dimming and constantly hiding, or 50% of the time I'm dimming and hiding, or 60% of the time I'm doing that, and flip that around. So we're saying, hey, my default is to share myself and to show up, right? Rose is so right. For me, my main mentor and teacher, Don Miguel, I watched him like spread his message around the world. He wanted to reach millions of people. And then there was a small core group of us that he worked with. And I could see like how much even that had an imprint on me of like, oh, you're meant to go out and talk to millions of people. And if that's my path, great. But when I really get honest with myself, I'm like, I want to be working with healers and coaches who then are going to go out and work with your tribes. And that's how I can touch so many lives. And that's what you also are here to do, right? If you even go out and say, hey, I'm going to start and just make an impact on that one person, and they change the way they eat, or they change the way they speak to their husband, or they change how they interact with their child, or whatever your focus is, and that then has an impact in that family, and that family has an impact in their community, and that has an impact in the world. I'm like, that's how we're going to make the change. And if we get so far ahead of ourselves, I'm sure you've heard me talk about the story of like, for years I was sitting in my office saying, oh, I feel like I should be on Oprah, but I'm just sitting in my office typing to myself. I'm not interacting with anyone. I'm not creating the skills that it would take to go and show up and be videotaped in that way. And so if you have that kind of big picture insight and vision, which I know a lot of us possess that ability, like you can see the end result, you can see your potential. You still have to start right here and just take the steps each and every day. What am I inspired to share? How can I touch a handful of lives? And then how can that explode out from there? And I want us all to just be in that place of like, we're creating these ripple effects, that we're starting with ourselves, we're doing whatever work we need to do with ourselves. And then when you have something extra to share, go and touch some other life. Yeah. I love all the people are joining you. Yes, we're creating a tribe of fully shining women. All right, anyone else? Anyone else like to share, speak, offer a suggestion? All right, I'm gonna let everyone then just absorb everything I said. So I would love, as I said, any reflections on what else you want to hear from me, how else I can serve you. I would love to receive that in return. And in a few minutes, I'm going to kind of be hopping over to the prayers for the planet. So if you're inspired to join me over there, please do. Or if you have someone else who you feel like that would really help them, please do. And I really appreciate, thank you, Penny. I really appreciate all of you showing up. I could just feel the energy building in me over the last few days, and it's just like such a gift and a pleasure to allow it to come through. So thank you, everyone. If we were here, we'd be given hugs and kisses. All right, see you soon. That's right. Bye.